On this episode of Off the Beaten Path, we travel to Inert Products in Scranton and check out some military replicas and training aids. We sample a great beer from the Yards Brewing Company, talk to the bass player of the band Gas Station Disco, and Chris takes his camera to the Slate Belt Heritage Center. Pennsylvania is filled with interesting things. You just need to know where to look. Come with us right now as we go Off the Beaten Path. Welcome to another awesome episode of Off the Beaten Path, the program that showcases interesting people, places, and things all across this great state of Pennsylvania. I'm hanging out with one of my dogs today. This is Lucy. And my other dog, Pansy, she's over there. She doesn't want to come up on the couch because Lucy's hogging the whole thing, aren't you, Lucy? Oh, that's right. Well, it's the middle of the summer, so I decided just to relax for a little bit and intro the show from my couch. And the first stop on this show is Inert Products in Scranton. Off the Beaten Path was lucky enough to see inside a leading supplier of inert training products and services, Inert Products in Scranton. Founded in 2007, Inert Products provides law enforcement, Homeland Security, and the United States Department of Defense with realistic training tools to aid against a war on terror.
I guess in a nutshell, we make replicas. Nothing we make is real or explodes. We do have some effects that will simulate an explosion, but a safe explosion.
It's hard to explain to people what we do because I say training aid, we make training aids for the military and they don't understand what that means. So I go into, we make replica ordnance, replica guns, and we basically build IEDs all day long. But they are functioning to the point of having an alarm or a siren. There's no energetic material. They will not explode. And even though I try to explain that to people, they just always assume, oh, you build bombs all day. But that really, it is what we do in a sense, but they're all training products that are completely harmless.
We can replicate just about anything. We have people in place, whether it be a weapon, an M4 or AK-47. We have replicas of these things, and the military uses them for a variety of reasons. Like replica weapons are used, for waterborne training, airborne training, where they don't want to have, where they don't need to fire the weapon, and they don't want to sustain damage, but they have to get the training value out of it, so the weapons have to be of the same weight.
Longtime viewers of Off the Beaten Path will notice that I love showcasing someone's passion for a certain subject that turns into something bigger, and Inert Products is no different. Building and collecting military replicas started as a hobby for Robert Rossi and his friends, but now serves a more patriotic purpose.
He started the business in his garage, did the website, and the phone started to ring. The company has no outside sales force, and basically he discovered there was a void. The military provides training aids for itself, but they weren't of the quality that we provide.
When we started talking to some of our friends that were going into the military, and they were telling us that they either didn't have training aids, didn't have proper training aids just didn't add up to what the real items were. When he told me about Inert Products and his idea behind it, I knew that he was onto something good because they didn't have any of these items. So,
they started out using wooden molds that they made themselves, and actually, got interest from the government and supplied the government with the rounds made out of Bondo, which, probably not a great solution, but there was nothing else. So the only people who had access to real inert munitions are people that are charged with explosive and ordnance demolition, which is EOD. And the rest of the Army or the forces, they don't have access to that stuff. So unless you're an artilleryman, you ain't gonna know what a 155 millimeter shell looks like. And if you take like the Iraq War, 3 days, they marched through the country. Well, they drove right past stockpiles of munitions. And then those munitions were later used as explosives devices against the forces. They're very easy to set off, and it's a ready-made bomb. That can be set off in a variety of ways. And that was a real problem. So we have a lot of lessons learned, and most of our products that we have now are derived from those intelligence received from those two conflicts. I mean, our customers are our best designers, you know, because they tell us specifically what they want. And we've become really good at getting them what they want. I mean, a lot of times in training, you know, we have like a block of wood to simulate an explosive or a landmine or something. You know, I just write landmine on it. I mean, you can get training value out of that, but it's a lot better to have something that looks like the real thing.
As I toured the facility, I noticed Hollywood movie posters on the walls. On occasion, the company does make props for movies, but I am told this is a very small part of the service that they offer.
The biggest movie, the most famous movie we did was The Hurt Locker. Okay. Now, if you ask a military person, you know, they hated the movie because, you know, there was unrealistic things as far as the tactics go within the movie. But that wasn't what the movie was about. And I mean, that thing won Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director. I mean, they swept the Academy Awards. I think that was in, I want to say 10 or 11. And, you know, so that was, you know, a lot of our stuff was used in that movie. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that have been sent to movies, there might only be a 3-second frame, you know, where they show our stuff stockpiled. You know, they're showing a stockpile of explosives and our stuff will be in there. I mean, it's something that we're proud of, but it's a part of our business, but less than 1% of our business.
Constant awareness and response and training is crucial in preparing for terrorism. With hundreds of known terrorist organizations worldwide, the face of terrorism is quickly changing, so the education and the tools need to change with it.
I would consider myself very well versed on military ordnance and explosives, but we still get emails and calls, probably on a daily basis, of stuff that I don't know what it is. There is so much out there in the world, because it's not only US, there's so much out there in military weapons in the world. We get emails, people, you know, can you make this, or do you have this? And there's times that I have to get books out and search the internet, because there's a lot of information on the internet, to try to find out what they're looking for. It's hard sometimes.
Awareness by the general public and, you know, all walks of military life, not just bomb techs, are the single best way. You know, dissemination is the single best way for people to see things that are unusual. Explosives are going to be part of our everyday life from now till the end of time, because they're easy to make, impossible, you know, to stop the production, because there's so many different things that you can make explode. And so we all need to be cognizant of this threat.
We always try, especially if something happens domestically, to try and have a replica of the item made within 72 hours. People ask me, well, how do you come up with a lot of this stuff? And basically what I tell them is, well, you have to think like them, you know? You have to think, well, if this was real, you know, what is the most devastation I can get? Or, you know, how do I want this item to work? And by thinking like that, you can make a very, very effective training aid. We'll take an item that, you know, they found in theater. I may not know the exact electronics of it, but everything's, I don't want to say it's all the same, but it's all pretty much done in similar fashions. You know, they'll use a 9-volt battery with 2 wires coming out, or it's radio controlled, or there's a pressure plate, or they're hiding it in a culvert. You know, a lot of the shells that they're using over there, it's old, you know, Russian military shells that were sold off when the Soviet Union collapsed, and they're sold here, sold there, and then they just bury them in the ground, and when they need them, they dig them up.
The Boston bombing, there's an example of, you know, they set off 2 devices within 10 seconds. The devices were kind of crude. If they were constructed the way they could have been, it would have been just a real major catastrophe. I mean, we're very fortunate, you know, that the loss of life was limited. And I mean, you know, it's a tragedy, don't get me wrong, but it could have been a lot worse.
Now, Inert Products does not sell to the general public, but we can all rest just a little easier at night knowing some local guys from Scranton are doing their part to help keep us safe.
When I go to shows, I get thanked for what we do, and you know, I obviously thank them because they're the real heroes. You know, I know that all of us are doing it for the greater good.
One of the main things that really drew me to the company is the fact that you get an opportunity to work for a great company with a great group of people. However, the main focus of the company is saving lives and providing the best possible training aids, training products to our members of the armed forces, as well as first responders, local, and police. And we have to keep in mind that this isn't just a 40-hour-a-week job. This is something that has direct ramifications in real-world situations every day going on right now. And the course of warfare across the world is ever changing. So Inert Products needs to be on the forefront of all these things as they happen in real time.
Coming up next on Off the Beaten Path, sampling a great Pennsylvania beer.